The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates, with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They give us the number that goes into your mortgage calculator to figure out that principal and interest payment. Well, let's take a look. What did the rates lock at on Friday? That's the latest data that we have. Friday's rate locks, well, let's take a look. 30-year conforming, 6.417. That is the 30-year conforming. The 30-year jumbo. Why is my screen going so slow here? Do we have those, Josh? Okay. I think we've got those. They're gonna show up for us in just a second. Every once in a while, the numbers hide on us. The 30-year jumbo on Friday down 6.625. 30-year FHA, that was down 6.153. 30-year VA, that was up 5.96. And the 30-year USDA loan, that's the rural areas, generally no down payment. That one was up 6.629. There's your numbers for you as of Friday. Scoreboard, 3 up and 2 down. It's kind of like the Dodgers. Oh, I digress, although I'm not a Dodger fan. Okay, let's see. And if you want our commentary every morning, as early as the data allows. Now, the markets have to be open, so we don't always put it out if the bond market is not opened, just because we're looking to share great information with you, and we're talking about the bond market. So we may have a little bit of a report later today, but let's take a look and see what those numbers are. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to put the tout in there. rsrlinks.com/market minute. rsrlinks.com/market minute. That's if you want to get that report, get on our mailing list. It is free to you, but again, we put that out each weekday morning. Let's take a look and see. China expected to announce another round of stimulus measures to continue to put a floor under their stock and housing markets, which could pressure our bond market here. Last time they had an announcement, it helped the stock market and hurt bonds, as it was thought that it could cause China to consume more and drive up commodity prices. We'll have to keep an eye out this and see how the bonds react. We may start to see some diminishing effects. We did get on Friday the producer price index report, which measures wholesale prices or producer inflation. And that was unchanged in September, which was lower than the 0.1% expected. Looking at the decimals, it came in at 0.048. So it's barely rounded to 0%. But it was still beneath estimates and a tame monthly reading. Year over year, PPI was revised higher in August from 1.7 to 1.9 and then declined to 1.8%. In Friday's report for September, the upward revision did not help matters, and the 1.8% reading was hotter than the 1.6 the market was anticipating. Core rate strips out food and energy prices, rose 0.2% last month, which was in line with estimates. The actual monthly reading was 0.16%, which was very tame, and is 2% annualized year over year. Core PPI rose from 2.4 to 2.8, while it was expected to come in at 2.7. Big reason why the year over year jumped so much was a slightly negative reading at this time last year that was replaced. Bottom line, while there are fears that inflation is reemerging, it has been making a ton of progress and will not move lower in a straight line. The most significant development this week was that low shelter reading in CPI, which is likely the first signs that it's finally catching up to the market rents. And because shelter makes up almost 46% of core CPI, lower shelter readings will make it much, much easier to make progress on inflation. The Fed acknowledged this and said ahead of CPI that they were expecting shelter to finally start to catch up. Fed's favorite measure of inflation, PCE, the personal consumption expenditures, will be reported later this month on October 31st. the market is expecting headline PCE to fall to 2.1%, core PCE to fall to 2.6%, both good readings. PCE shares some of the same components as the PPI report, so the tame monthly figures could cause filter through into PCE and potentially cause a downside surprise, so long as the revisions in PPI do not impact things. Fed comments after the CPI report. On Thursday, slightly hotter than anticipated CPI inflation report. We heard from 4 different Fed presidents. The first 3 seemed unfazed, while Bostic is now calling for only one more 25 basis point cut this year instead of 2. Here are some highlights. New York Fed President John Williams, quote, month to month, there's wiggles and bumps in the data, but we've seen this pretty steady process of inflation moving. I expect that will continue, unquote. He added that it's appropriate to continue the process of moving the stance of monetary policy to a more neutral setting over time. Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee, the overall trend for inflation over the last 12 to 18 months is clearly moving lower. He was not concerned with the slightly hotter CPI reading. Richmond Fed President Thomas Barkin, quote, inflation is definitely headed in the right direction, unquote. And Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic, quote, I am totally comfortable with skipping a meeting if the data suggests that's appropriate, unquote. Bostic was calling for one more 25 basis point cut between the November 7th and the December 18th Fed meetings. Bottom line, the Fed is fickle and changes their tune quickly. We saw a hotter BLS jobs report, although we broke down why those numbers appear to be unreliable. The initial jobless claims report popped higher and showed an increase in firings, while the CPI and PPI inflation reports were a bit hotter than expected. But a cooler PCE later this month or a weak jobs report first week of November will cause the Fed to change their tune quickly. That is the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990.